the way that I was able to finally show up for myself is I challenged my thoughts. I challenged the way that I thought about myself. And I realized and was able to recognize the negative thoughts that I had about me. And the beauty about any thought is that you can change it. So lots of celebrations today. New moon of Scorpio. This month has a bad rap, and so does everybody born under this sign. I happen to love Scorpion people. I'm rising Scorpio. But it is a month of extremes. And we tend to see things in terms of black and white. And there's an opportunity tonight and for this whole month to be able to challenge ourselves to not accept that kind of, it's either good or bad, positive or negative, black or white. And everything we're going to talk about tonight supports that idea. We know also, Kabbalistically, we refer to the month of Scorpio as Mar Cheshvan, which means bitter. And we have the opportunity tonight and in this month to reverse that order, Mar to Ram, which means exalted or elevated. So it's really about elevating our thoughts, our consciousness, and our ability to see gifts through our biggest challenges. Would you like to add anything? Oh, also, I didn't say welcome to Spiritually Hungry.
Right. The one thing I will share is that our son David spends a lot of time watching my father, the Rav's videos, and he reminded us of a quote that the Rav, my father, said about this month of Scorpio, and specifically, by the way, this evening into tomorrow, which not coincidentally is actually my mother's Hebrew birthday as well. Thank you. And the Rav said that this is, as far as drawing blessings and light, the most powerful day of the year. So it's probably not a coincidence that we're coming here together to celebrate both the launch of the gift of being different and the new moon and new month of Scorpio, because this is, and by the way, I would ask everybody, whether you're watching it live here with us live or watching later, this is a night and a day into tomorrow to ask, as we say in Kabbalistically, the gates are open, which means anything that you truly need, anything that you truly want to ask for, this is the time to do it.
And also just speaking about that, the idea of something being all of this or all that, all good or all bad, nothing is really 100% anything ever, right? So I think that if we can really reframe our thinking around that idea, like our biggest challenges, the things that we're sure we can't change, this is the month to be able to, this is the month you want to challenge that limited way of thinking.
For sure.
So tonight we have a very special guest.
Woo!
Little Miss Abigail Berg, and I have to applaud her on, I was not that brave at 9 at her age, when I was her age. It's not easy to come out and speak and show you, and I'm so proud of you, and you inspire me all the time. So, as you know, Abigail's my co-creator in writing The Gift of Being Different. And it is a book that we hope will inspire children and also adults to reframe the things that they feel most maybe ashamed of, or the parts of themselves that they think that they need to hide because we feel like we need to be like everybody else, that we need to fit in, that we need to be accepted, or we're going to be unhappy. And through Abigail's diagnosis of dyslexia, we were really able to reframe what a difference looks like and also bring light to the truth that everybody is different. And when we really accept that and we really honor that idea, we remove fear, we remove judgment, and we're able to embrace all of the uniqueness that everybody has to offer. I know personally, I would be very bored living in a world where we are all the same or we try to be the same. I find that really, really unfulfilling and really boring. So I love this idea, obviously. I love this concept. I love this subject. And Yeah. So we're going.
Yeah, I would just say Abigail has a few questions for Monica and I. Before we begin with the questions, I want to applaud Monica and Abigail, of course. But, in life, and this is maybe one of the most important differences of living a spiritual life, we all have challenges. We all have had challenges, will have challenges, have experienced challenging times. And I think it's a real testament to somebody who's living a life of growth and that is dedicated to the spiritual path, that when challenges come, it's not a difficulty to be overcome, but rather an opportunity to grow tremendously from. And I remember in this process, from the moment that Abigail was diagnosed with dyslexia, and up until the writing, the designing, the publishing of the book, only somebody, at least to my estimation, like Monica, would take, again, a challenge and both create, as Monica will share a little bit later, really an opportunity, not just for Monica and for Abigail, but really for the world, for so many other people who come hopefully to realize that it is those things about us, and every single one of us has them, that are not as everybody else, or not typical to everybody else, because nobody is typical to anybody else. And we all have those aspects of ourselves that are different, that those are most probably the ones for which we came into this world to both make shine and assist the world with them.
It's interesting because and I'm going to go into it more, but I'm so inspired by our kids, but I'm also very curious about people's process and human nature and experience, right? And I was really, those of you who know me, I take things very seriously. I don't take myself very seriously, but I take life very seriously in terms of living the life you're meant to and really making your mark. And I really appreciate how much time we have in this world, and I don't take that for granted. So being able to reframe the things that happened in my childhood that were painful for me, and when I've seen a hint of that for our children, it's always empowered me to say, okay, right away, let's get on this, because it took me until I was well into my 30s to really get to that place of self-love, self-compassion, self-acceptance, and look at all of those things as really beautiful gifts. So before Abigail's going to interview us and ask them some questions, I want to share this video with you.
I couldn't read until I was in 3rd grade, and it was super hard for me. And one day we had to take a test in school, and usually they take around an hour or so, and everybody after the hour was already done with the test, but I wasn't, so I had to go to the back of the class and do the test. And by the next hour, I was done. And when it was done, I felt different, and I felt like everybody else was smarter than me, and I wouldn't fit in ever. And then I holded this in my heart, and I kept it a secret. And then one day, I thought about it in my room, and then I came to my mom, and I said, "Am I done?" And my mom said, "No, you're not done, Abigail. You're unique." And then she brought out a book, and in one of the pages, it said Abigail to a T. And it had all these people in it who had dyslexia, and I recognized some of them. Like there were Steven Spielberg or Albert Einstein, and I knew these people, and they did pretty cool things. And so me and my mom had this idea to write the gift of being different.
Because you're super cool too. Alrighty, Abigail.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for us?
Yes,
You do?
I have a couple.
Okay.
So first, when did you feel like you didn't belong?
Assuming that you felt that way.
I have felt that. So the truth is that, most of my childhood, I felt that I didn't belong. And I think that's I would assume it's a common feeling. You know, many of us know that I grew up.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, I grew up often travel. You know, my parents were in the early days of trying to create what is now the Kabbalah Center, and we would travel a lot, and always new schools, always new schoolmates. I was going to say friends, but not necessarily. And I think one of the gifts, and maybe this is, Abigail, something you felt as well, is that while I did not feel necessarily a part of the schoolmates that I was with at any given time or the environment that I was in, I always felt a strong connection to my family. And I think for me that, you know, you don't think of these things when you're a child, but maybe when you're older, you have the ability to look back, that I think because of the love that I felt within our family, not having friends, feeling different than everybody else that I was going to school with, didn't affect me as much.
What makes you feel, well, both of you guys, what makes you feel different from other people? I'm sure there's a lot of things.
Well, it's interesting. I think growing up, and certainly until I got married in my early 20s, I noticed differences, and I noticed all the ways that I was opposite from other people. And I would compare, maybe that's better, maybe what I'm doing is worse. I felt a lot of negative things around that. And I think now I don't focus on the differences. I only see the commonalities, the similarities. And so I don't know what's different because I'm not looking at that and I'm not looking for it. I'm really looking for ways of connection and showing up for others and recognizing and appreciating how they show up for me. So yeah, I don't feel that different because I think we're all different. I think the beauty of the question is if we never ask that question anymore, we won't see it even.
Who was a person who made you feel, besides each other, who made you feel like you belonged?
I love that you know that, by the way, besides each other, who made us feel like we belonged? Nobody could really quite do that. Of course, it's true. Your father did, but
it does, I hope.
Also, no, and you made me feel that way before I really owned that for myself. And I don't think that anybody can make you feel like you belong. I think it's something you have to learn to do for yourself. I think each person has to learn to love themselves enough and appreciate their most difficult parts of their life or the package they came in the world with or their difficulties. And in doing that, then you really feel like you're showing up for yourself, and then belonging is hand in hand with that.
So I would say for me, it was, like I said, growing up in an environment and moving so often, not having, a group of friends that I grew up with. I think for me, it was really my parents, but maybe more importantly, the Rav, my father, that, we spent early childhood, really moving around, but also a little bit later studying together. And for me, I often say this, but from about the age of 12 or 13, we would study with the Rav, with my father, from about 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. almost every night. And for me, that was the only connection that I needed. And then I would go, to school and I would study. But for me, it was those moments of belonging that were the most powerful. And for me, it was in that, sort of in our home, in the middle of the night, studying together, that made me feel that I have my place. And then even if I went out into the world and did other things, important things, I always came back to what I would call my place.
And by the way, just a tip, the way that I was able to finally show up for myself is I challenged my thoughts. I challenged the way that I thought about myself. And I realized and was able to recognize the negative thoughts that I had about me. And the beauty about any thought is that you can change it. You can adjust it, you can revise it, you can accept it, you can reject it. And so when we stop giving power and voice to the negative things we think about ourselves, then you really show up for yourself, and then you really feel like you belong.
Next question. If you could tell your 9-year-old self anything, what would it be?
Well, I would say to all the bullies out there.
Well, first of all, Monica, Abigail, what would you tell your 9-year-old self? No, I'm joking. That was a joke. Obviously, it was not a very funny joke. It was just a joke.
No, it was certainly lost on most of us. But
Abigail's 9 years old. That was the joke.
But you've interrupted me. What was I saying?
All the bullies. You started saying all the bullies.
Yes. I mean, that was hard. It's hard to hear really negative things that feel so real but don't make sense. And I would say that for every mean thing that was ever said to me or every hurtful thing that I experienced, that it really wasn't about me. I just happened to be next to them, and that their pain and where they were at was so overwhelming and all consuming that all they could do was take it out on me. So I wish I knew that at 9 and 10 and 11 and 12 and 13. And to really know that, not to be so hard on myself because I was picked on. It's hard to believe, right?
I was going to say, I didn't even know that to be. What were you going to say?
Well, there was one bully, one specific. She
really?
was
I want to hear that story.
Oh my God.
But it's probably just like taking out the person next to them. They're like, oh look, I'm gonna next to them.
The what?
Like next to them, like oh look, she's next to me. I'm just gonna be mean to her.
You know what's interesting, Abigail? And it's funny because I'm working on another book, and I remembered the story. So she really, this girl terrorized me from.
I don't think I know the story.
Yeah, because I just.
Someone like
you know the story?
I think maybe.
I don't know if you know it either. Big reveal. Nobody knows the story, not even my family. We moved from New Orleans to Beverly Hills. Things were okay, kind of, 3rd, 4th grade. And then 5th through 7th grade, this girl, we were friends at first. And I never really liked her. She kind of scared me a bit, but she was popular and I don't even know. That's the other thing. Like, why did I give her space in my life at that time? So then she started to call me names, horrible names, by my locker. Then it spread to other kids. And I never pieced why that was until I started writing this book 2 months ago. So we were friends and she'd come over. Again, she was always a mean person. She was. There's mean girls. She was mean. But then it turned sideways, and I realized that her father actually was very flirtatious with my mom when she'd pick me up from her house. And her mom didn't like that. Honestly, I love you, Mom. You didn't do anything wrong. It was the father. but the mother, I remember one day I caught the mother's eye and she was angry and whatever. And the next day, that girl, she had it out for me. So, and I didn't know that then. And I wish, obviously, I wouldn't have known that at that age. But then it all made sense. And it's okay, She felt bad for her mom. Can I blame her? She didn't pick on me, but,
Next question.
I'd love to know what you're thinking in your head. What was your thought?
Probably what everybody else is thinking right now.
Really?
What is that?
What do you think they're thinking?
I'm not sure. Probably thinking, what am I thinking about talking about this? Probably thinking. You teach me, this specifically to Mom.
Oh, that's good.
You teach me all the time. Do you think that other parents can learn from their children?
Absolutely. And I think that sometimes parents think that they need to have a specific role and just be the teacher to their children. And I think that's true to a certain point, but children very much come into our lives to teach us as well. And all 4 of you and your siblings, are my inspiration always. I love seeing the way you view the world and the way you navigate it, and seeing life through your eyes constantly inspires me. And I've shared this story before, but our oldest son, David, remember we had dinner once and he said, all of a sudden, he said, what do you think my worst character trait is, to the whole table? And I was like, oh my God, in my mind, I'm thinking, I hope everybody's nice in their responses. And then I was overwhelmed by my desire to be more like him, because I don't ask that question. I mean, I'll probably get it anyway and I'll hear it. But I was so inspired that he could demolish his ego so completely and put himself out there. So I think that if we're really doing this parenting thing right, it's less what we can teach. Of course, we want to help our children navigate, but also to pay attention to how they can change us and help us grow and be different and better. All four of you often do things and I'm like, oh, I wouldn't do it that way, but that's really awesome. I'm going to try it.
I have a question. So, if you guys, like, is there anything for your children that you, if you wanted to ask them, like, just, like, is there anything you would think that they weren't, do you think you have a very close relationship with all your children? Like, do you ever think there's something that, like, do you ever think, it's similar to this question.
I love that she's doing off script.
Yeah, by the way.
Awesome. Okay. Yes, I want to hear your question.
But like with saying like you can learn from your kids, like it's like in a way like, because you know that obviously you can't like just like trust your kids to be the adult always. So how do you know?
Not always.
So then how do you know the right times you should listen to them or not?
That's a good question. Good question, Abs. That was not in the script, by the way.
You know, it's a great question. And I think that if, as a human being, forget about a parent, but if a person's being honest with themselves, like David with removing his ego, if you said something, even if you showed me a different way that I didn't see it first, if I'm really being honest with myself, I'll allow myself to see it. And it's not about you being a parent or a child. It's about an exchange. It's about a conversation and a connection. And we're all blind to certain things. There's certain things I'll be able to see that you can't see just about how many years I've been in this world or my life experience. And then there's other things with a child's innocence and curiosity and purity that you'll be able to say something maybe that you didn't even intend that is exactly what I needed to hear or that I couldn't have seen myself. And that's why in every relationship, sadly, most people say, okay, I can only learn from that person that's my teacher. I can only learn from that one friend that I've given permission to tell me things I need to change. But the truth is, in this world, we're all meant to learn from everybody. And if we assign labels or we assign that, again, only certain people can teach us, then we're not going to get what we need to. That's a bummer.
That's a bummer. I just want to say, I think both the question was great and also Monica's answer. And I think it's a very, very important point that, you know, often as parents, by the way, this is true not just about parents, it's true about any relationship that we have, especially the ones that we think that we're the smarter one, the better one, whatever those titles are, that one of the most important spiritual abilities is, as it says in the writings of the Kabbalists, you should be able to learn from every single person, which means that no matter the situation or your position, if somebody says something to you, you should actually be desiring for them to be teaching you and for them to be showing you. And I think one of the gifts of being parents is not just the ability to teach and to show a way, but more importantly, to learn. And one of the things that I aspire to, you know, when you have those conversations with your kids, again, it doesn't mean they're always right, but if they're unhappy about something or there's something that they point out, to have that openness, to have that, you know, hopefully diminished ego that allows to hear. And this is both important for your relationship with your children, but also maybe more importantly for your relationship with everybody else, to really be open to what they have to say about you that you might not, you know, be comfortable hearing or isn't the best aspect of you, but being open to that is what allows you to really grow.
And create closeness.
Yeah.
Maybe our next book should be called The Gift of Being Parents.
Nice.
Next question. How do you think we are different? Well, you can also mean like, just like us two, or us two. Just like,
How do you answer that one first?
How are we different?
yeah, like both of us, maybe one of us.
How are me and you different?
Yeah.
Or you and mom?
I don't
well,
know.
me and you different. I hope not in very many ways, I have to be honest.
I would say that one of the things that I really appreciate about you is that you're very, very compassionate, which means when you see somebody going through challenges, you're always trying to find a way to help. And I would say, I don't know if we're different, but one of the things that I really want to learn from you is that ability and that desire to always, when you see somebody who's going through a difficult time, to always find ways that you can be helpful to them. I mean, I know there's a friend of yours that we know who lost a father, And I know that, I mean, once you heard that about her, from that moment, you decided she was going to be your best friend and that you were going to be her best friend. So I think for me, that desire that hopefully always grows to see somebody who's in pain or see somebody who's going through a difficult time and finding ways, new ways all the time to help them and be there for them.
Yeah, I would add the same thing. You're incredibly empathetic. And I remember that you drew a picture for that girl and you wanted to bring her different things every day. And I was like, does she like this? You're like, I don't know. I just want to make her happy. You have this beautiful ability to really see people, really see them fully, and no judgment, just accepting and wanting to make them happy and feel good. It's a beautiful gift.
So we're now going to do a little bit about between banter between Monica and I, but thank you, Abigail, again.
So we are going to do a workshop in a minute because I want you to really be able to internalize this and actualize what you want in your lives. But we want to rethink and reframe the beliefs that we have, the limited ones, the ones that tell us that we can only be a certain thing or that we're not enough or that we see our challenges as weaknesses, and really be able to change them to what they truly are, which is an opportunity. So, for instance, often we believe a vulnerability is a weakness, or I never get anything I want. If I want something done correctly, I have to do it myself, right? We have all these ideas and beliefs that we come in the world with that help us navigate life that really actually wreak havoc and chaos in our lives because they stop us. They completely limit us, right? This one thing happened to me and therefore I can't do X, Y, and Z.
So I would say it's interesting. It reminded me, there's a story of a friend of ours that we know that many years ago he was very successful in investment banking, and then he went out to work on his own, and a very well-known wealthy person gave him a significant amount of money as his seed capital. And long story short, after very few months, it was a very large sum of money. He had lost about 30% of it. And he was obviously very disappointed, upset. And he went back to his funder, the person who gave him that very large sum of money. And he says, I'm very sorry. I just lost all this money for you, 30% of a very large sum of money. And he said to him, he says, you know what? I'd rather you spend the next years focusing on the 70% of the money that you still have and how to invest it, rather than spending your time being upset and disappointed about the 30% that you lost. And the lesson, of course, is that all of us have those parts of us that make us different. All of us also have those parts of us that we think aren't as they should be, aren't the best. Spiritually, we know that where we focus our attention, where we focus our energy, is what will grow. So if a person spends a lot of their time focusing on their challenges or the things that make them maybe not as great as everybody else, then that allows those parts of them to grow. Whereas if a person spends their time on the parts of them that are, we'll call, perfected or better, or allows them to grow, that's what will allow them to become a person who can really influence the world and others in a positive way. And I think when we talk about a superpower, which is really what the book is about and what this evening is about, I think a very large, important part of it is making sure that we focus on the better parts of ourselves. We all have, and science tells us this, a negativity bias, this natural predisposition of the mind to focus on the things that aren't as they should be. Whereas if we focus on those parts of us that are as our superpower, that are the parts that make us and give us the ability to bring great light into this world, then that part will grow. So when we think about what is our superpower, when we think about what will allow us to truly bring great light into our own lives and into the world, make sure that we spend the time focusing on the 70%, those parts of us that can truly create change in this world.
Well, here's the thing. Most people focus on the 30%. And I can tell you that I had a very not fantastic math teacher in the 4th grade. And I don't even know why he was teaching. He clearly hated the job. And I remember thinking that, honestly, maybe it was the 5th grade. And he had me sitting right in front of his desk, and he picked on me relentlessly every single day. And I hate math to this day, right? But more than that, I thought I was stupid well into my 20s. And I just didn't think that I was very academic or intellectual. And I allowed that one experience to really shape the many years that followed that until I realized, no, actually, I can just string a thought together. I mean, it was really like he really chipped away at me. I can't blame him, but it's a testament to how negative beliefs especially can have such a hold on us. I gave a talk here when Rethink Love came out, and we were talking about shame and the shame of wanting. And this woman did a workshop, and she got up and shared the story that really, I mean, tore me apart. It was the time when Michael Jackson was the king of pop, and Billie Jean came out, and, you know, everybody remembers the glitter glove, right? And
everybody of a certain age, I would say.
You always say that, and every time you do that, you try to make me feel old. It's not
no,
gonna work.
Of a very young age.
Yeah,
is what
everybody
I'm saying.
knows Michael Jackson and the glove. Does everybody know Michael Jackson? Yeah. Children, do you guys know? Of course, the glove. Even our kids
Yes,
do.
yes.
Okay, keep
Sorry.
that old stuff to yourself. So she had a ballet class, and everybody was to bring something that they really felt connected to. And so, you know, she's like, the glove. She comes in, everybody's in their leotard, and she brings out her glove. And for whatever reason, the teacher really took an offense to it and berated her in front of the other kids and said, what did you bring that for? Why are you doing that? That's silly, put it away. And she was so humiliated. She decided she was going to be a scholar, a professor, very focused, and she's really a creative person. And she said to this day, every day she wants to write. She wants to write a book. She wants to sing, but she has to provide for her family. And she believes that if she feeds into that creative aspect for herself, she has to choose a different life, and she's going to be ridiculed. And why? Because of that one experience with a ballet teacher that she never saw again for the rest of her life, but that really affected her. So, and in releasing this book, I've heard so many stories that are so powerful, and not only from children, but also from adults, from parents that are now going back to their own childhood, thinking about the ways that they felt so different and less than, and that it was never reframed for them. One mom, her daughter started stuttering recently, and she's like, I don't know how to help her. Another woman who has a hearing impediment, she said, where was my mother? Why didn't, like, people, it's bringing up stuff because we carry these things around. So we're going to do a workshop now, and I really want you all to be able to be honest with yourself. It's a little bit heady, so stay with me. All right, so there's something called the Olam Hafuch, which means the upside down world, which means that everything that we think to be, or we focus on, is the opposite of what we need to focus on, or the things that we think are issues are really not the issues. It's everything is upside down. So with that idea, on one side of the card that you have, the first question is, who are you? And I know that this is a broad and existential question. I get it, but it's really important because we don't really ask ourselves. We give ourselves title. Who am I? I'm a businesswoman. I'm a mother. I'm whatever it is. But I just want you to write down, who are you? The next question is, what makes you feel different? So again, mom, who are you? My mom's the only one not doing the workshop in the room. Who are you? Write that down. The next question is, what makes you feel different? The third question is, what makes you feel like you don't or you didn't belong? And a simple way to answer or investigate that question is start by answering, what is it that you like or don't like about yourself? So the third question is, what makes you feel like you don't or didn't belong? Again, a simple way of investigating is you start by stating what it is you like and don't like about yourself. And now I want you to create 2 columns. So under the list you've already started, create a line in the middle, and there's going to be 2 columns. On one side, you're going to write strengths, and on the other side, you're going to write weaknesses. And now I want you to write down all the strengths, not all, let's cap it at 4, but 3 or 4 strengths. And then I want you to write 3 or 4 weaknesses next to it. So again, the strengths are all the qualities within yourself that you're proud of. And in the weaknesses, it's all the qualities you wish would disappear. And now I want you to switch them. So I want you to put an arrow. Whatever you thought were your strengths are your weaknesses. And whatever you think your weaknesses are actually your strengths. So just put an arrow on the top. Weakness becomes strength and strength becomes weakness. And I'm sure that this feels a little confusing, frustrating, uncomfortable. But imagine for a moment how one of your weaknesses could actually be positive, and conversely, how one of your strengths could be holding you back. Think about that for a minute. For instance, I'm independent, and now I know I'm competent. It took a while. But those strengths actually keep me from asking for help. So if I think that I like to be fiercely independent, I never want to actually let anybody help me. And so often what happens is that people think that I can't be hurt by anything, not by words, not by disregards. And so actually my strength is working against me. So the point is that we need to stop thinking of things in terms of good or bad and limited by these definitions. And I want to share with you something I actually saw today on TikTok. Simon Sinek. He was talking about how things, again, this idea of good or bad or strength or weaknesses, it's all just contextual. So he describes himself as very, very disorganized. And when he was starting out as an entrepreneur, he was at an event and somebody was inspired by him and they came over to him and he said, I want to do business with you. Gave him his business card. And can you imagine, you're starting up your career, young entrepreneur, somebody important gives you the business card. You would think that when you get in the taxi on the way home, you would text them right away, or maybe the next morning you would email them. No, he's so disorganized, he lost the card. So wasted opportunity, right? You can see how that surely is a weakness. 2 weeks later, at the bottom of a bag, as he described, collecting dust, he found the card. And he writes to the guy, hey, I met you 2 weeks ago. Do you remember me? Love to work with you. And this guy was even more enthusiastic about working with him because he thought that he was so busy and so hard to get that this is really, they should go into business together. So here is the challenge. If you see, for instance, you're so disorganized, you lose an opportunity. Of course, it's a weakness. You're so disorganized that 2 weeks later you write to the guy and he's like, wow, this guy's busy. It's a positive. And it's such a great example that we need to be able to challenge the way that we view our strengths and our weaknesses. None of it even matters. Nothing is absolute. And see that everything can be changed into something that can work for you. And then really that is the power of this book. I want you to write down, my superpower is, and I want you to dig deep to the thing that you feel is your biggest weakness and try to recognize it as your superpower. We did this game in our house and we went around the table and I decided that I would help everybody out with their situation. I said Mikhail's superpower is his shyness, which, by the way, how can we reframe that? Because naturally, I think you've said you're an introvert. True. And you've challenged yourself to be an extrovert, but still that ability to be still within yourself and to not need attention and all of that energy, and you're able to come really within and study and pray and be disciplined, which really is an amazing superpower.
I won't argue with that.
Right? Could I not have said it better?
Yes.
You couldn't have said it better. With permission from my children, can I go on through the rest of the list?
Yes, go for it. Not enthusiastic as Miriam.
Get a close shot on Miriam. So then the kids were like, well, I don't know, what's mine? Actually, Miriam, will you come up and share the conversation? It was so great the way you said it. So then I said, so then Miriam and Dave were like, what's mine? What did I say? I said to Miriam, well, you can say it. I'm not going to say it. Anyway, I gave them feedback and I said, mine's perfectionism. They had such a fun time with that. They're like, of course, yours is going to be perfect. And there's no, but even with perfection, I was striving for perfectionism so much, it almost destroyed me, right? With anorexia and whatever else. But you can reframe that going all the way, right? Taking a story like Abigail's and creating something beautiful out of it. So my superpower is, right? It's the negative that is positive. So I'd like to get one or two people to share their superpower with the room.
So I'm Bobby. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Good
Hi,
mic?
Bobby.
It's a good mic. Mic is working, everyone. Okay. So basically, my weaknesses, which I turned into my superpower, was my weaknesses are accepting criticism. I'm very bad at accepting criticism. I'm always right, and don't tell me why. I'm very bad at it.
Are you a Virgo?
No. No. I'm a Gemini, like your husband.
When's your birthday? When's your birthday?
June 7th.
June 7th.
Yes.
June 5th and May 24th.
Yeah. Yeah. Libra rising, so I get away with it a lot. And also I'm bad with rejection. Very bad with rejection. I don't like to feel rejected. So I said my superpower is that I can handle rejection and accept criticism. And I was explaining to Jacqueline that if I learn to love those things, like if I learn to love accepting criticism and I learn to love feeling rejected, then they're going to be my superpowers because, like, I transform those negative sparks into positivity.
And you'd be unstoppable. Can you imagine if you could just hear things and not be hurt by them?
Yeah, or actually look forward to feel rejected, you know? It's like, yeah, got that.
No, really, people laugh, but it's, it won't affect you the same way once you fully embrace it.
That's all I was saying. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay, my name is Joseph, and I'm a Virgo. And my superpower, and it was like the head of my list of my weaknesses, is my mouth. In the sense that I used to be the guy that talks much, that always overshared, whatever, until I get to the center and get a one-on-one with a teacher. I've learned to reverse that power. And now my superpower is in concealing and just keeping things for myself. And I don't know, it's just something that has shifted my consciousness a lot. And it's, I don't know, thanks to you guys. So that's my superpower and my biggest weakness, my mouth.
And that always drives, or a lot of times drives, what I do. So I wrote that my superpower is my desire to please people and put my needs second. Although that doesn't feel like a superpower.
But how could, say it again?
Superpower is my desire to please others and put my needs second. Because that was the assignment, right? Take a bad thing and make it a
Yeah, the please others, I think that, like what we were talking with Abigail earlier about how to really see what people need and be able to show up for them. Because the pleasing thing, I think it's tricky. But yes. We're going to bring it up on the screen also, but it's a letter I got from a mom today that I've never met and moved me to tears many, many, many times. Thank you so much from the bottom of this mama's heart and 7-year-olds too. Brought me to tears when I read it before her, and then her big sister read it to her. Avery finally felt like someone else got her. Kudos to your amazing daughter for speaking up and to you for being a wonderful mom to support her. I fought many battles with our school, an IEP teacher that had the audacity to say she's extremely disabled because of her dyslexia and dysgraphia. We never stopped supporting these beautiful kids, so thank you from one mom to another. So happily, I randomly turned the news on that morning. I already told all the moms of the kids in Avery's IEP class. I'm sending it for the teacher and to read to the class. I cried all yesterday after reading it myself, and then all last night after she kept telling me and all her siblings she has a superpower. She kept saying, Mama, she's just like me.
I want to thank everybody for joining tonight, all of our friends who are going to be watching this recording. And most importantly,
and there's fun things to do for the kids downstairs as well.
For the new moon of Scorpio, we should all have the ability to transform all of our challenges and difficulties into our superpower. So thank you. Thank you for joining.